Hi, I've been talking to lots of you about this challenge with Zoom. It's so hard, right, to go from in person to computer. And particularly for people who aren't used to that and also just doing it for so many hours in a day. And I've been meaning to write about it that just doesn't happen. So I thought I'd try to do a video just to see how that might work. So just to say, a few of you may have already seen articles about why it's hard physiologically, or just from the study of the nervous system, or I've read other things just of how the brain works when we're in person versus the brain works with the computer, and all of those things are really valid. I'm choosing to do this outside, which is so much fun because there's a lot of bird creatures and things going on, which is a perfect way to have this conversation, because when we are on Zoom, there's a lot of things happening, and a lot of things happening here, and our attention just gets really split. So we have to just name that. Like, the way that our brain is processing in person is different than how it's going to be relating in Zoom. So we don't deny that. We don't deny that our nervous systems really respond to in-person contact and often appreciate that. Now, that is not every person. Some of you will be really appreciating how you get to be on Zoom now and don't have to be in person. And so nervous systems are all very unique. So honoring just whatever is true for you. But generally speaking, our nervous systems are used to being with other bodies and other beings, and the familiarity is lovely to our nervous system. Seeing faces that we know, eye contact from eyes that we know, smiles and facial expressions, the voice that we hear. It's this very embodied experience, whether we have ever called it that before or not. It tends to be that way. So again, that's all really normal, to go from this familiarity of connection and relationship, and then when it comes into being electronic or Zoom, we can feel lost with that, a real loss. It's not just an imagined loss. It's like our nervous systems are saying, "Oh, hey, like, what's going on here?" And I met with a group last night, and it was interesting to watch that same process go through. I'm used to meeting this group in person, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're going to be meeting on Zoom. And I could feel that disappointment in my body, even though I'm used to being on Zoom all day with my clients. My body is still experiencing that loss at times of the camaraderie and the connectedness that I've known in these in-person relationships and connections. So we just have to honor the reality that there is loss right now in very real ways. And then how to acknowledge that and also move forward so that we can stay in connection, stay in relationship, and stay in our bodies in a nurturing ways with regard to all the technology. So the first thing I just want to acknowledge is that we have this invitation to really connect inward, and it's even more paramount, I think, right now, to really be in our bodies, to be in our skeletal systems, to be relating with ourselves from direct experience, and to center ourselves in that. And we may be doing that already in certain ways. We may have been doing that in our interpersonal dynamics without even knowing it. Maybe you walk into a classroom, or you sit down, in your meetings, and you immediately have this sense of connecting to your chair, connecting to your water or your cup, connecting to the floor. Maybe some kind of connecting may be just happening, not even on purpose, when you have your in-person dynamics. So again, we've got this different context, but the same process is important, and we might just need to make it conscious at this point, instead of it happening by accident. We might be invited to make it happen, so to speak, or be conscious with the necessity of connecting inward here. So we can just experientially play around with this today. I'm already doing this. I'm already staying from my being and including the camera, including you, including the trees and the birds. What our attention often does is it either ors. It is in here, so to speak, or it goes out there. And when we have a screen full of people, the brain will be trying to choose where to place attention. And on that screen, depending on how many little boxes are on there, we can get lost in a lot of detail, right? A lot of things, a lot of data is happening out there. And because we're a very externally referenced culture, and by that I mean our attention goes outward, and our reality can actually be determined by the reality out that we see. That's our culture actually encourages that. It doesn't encourage a culture of connectedness from the inside out, so to speak. It kind of encourages a culture of outside in. So we first want to just kind of go, when we settle, if we can imagine settling into your Zoom meeting, or even right now, we can do this experientially, just to first settle. Yeah, like literally let your attention come down into your existence. This is all practical. There's nothing woo-woo about this or new agey. This is literally factual and nuts and bolts stuff of including our human body, including that I have a skeletal system and muscles and flesh and a breath and emotions and feelings and sensations and all that. So I'd invite you to do that with me now, just for a moment, just to eyes opened or closed, to just acknowledge that you have a sitting, breathing body, and to factually connect in with that. To just notice that the breath is having its way in your body right now. And your bones are connecting to your chair right now in different ways. Just factually. Again, the judging mind comes in very quickly, right? But in this moment, we're kind of just observing, oh yeah, my elbows are bent and my knees are bent and my feet don't touch the floor. They're propped up on a little thing, and I can feel that under my feet, and this chair is a bit hard under my sit bones, and I can feel the hardness under my seat. And I can feel the space behind my back because there's nothing that I'm pressing into. So your context will be your context. When you are in your chair, you're connecting to not a right, wrong, good, or bad, but a factual happening of contact and qualities that come with that contact. So we connect to that curious part of the brain and that witnessing part of the brain that is just noticing the factualnesses of a moment of sitting and breathing. Feeling your seat, feeling the floor, feeling the back, or feeling anything that for you is simple in this moment. It could be hands, feet, arms, armpits. For some people, using breath is very familiar and comfortable to add in. And so finding a movement of the breath that for you feels easy. It could just be the nostrils, just breathing in and out of the nostrils, or feeling the nostrils with the air moving in and out. It could be feeling the chest or the belly, or the whole range from nostrils to pelvic floor. There's a whole range of breath happening between the nostrils and the pelvic floor that you if it's simple for you and safe for you to include for a moment as you're sitting. Just to notice it happening. We're not doing this to try to have a certain kind of experience, to relax, to feel good. We're just observing that we are breathing, sitting creatures. And maybe go ahead and just close your eyes for a moment so that you can really have less data coming in. Less visuals, there's a lot of visual data when our eyes are open. So letting the eyes close to just having more witnessing and experiencing of the sitting, breathing body. And again, connecting into whatever is very simple and easy for you to connect with, or sometimes we use the word grounding with or anchoring with. To ground or anchor, connect with something experientially that is simple for you, easy. It could be the hardness of the chair under your seat area. It could be, the softness of your clothing, or it really could be anything. So there is no right, wrong, good or bad here. It's just in your own experience what feels easy and useful to simply connect with. And then when you have that, and if you need to pause the recording, you can, but when you have that, to stay with your sitting, breathing body in whatever way is easy for you, and letting some of your attention stay with that while your eyes open. So even while the eyes open and you're seeing colors and shapes, very quickly more data comes in of memories or judgments or whatnot. And while that is coming in, let some of your attention continue to stay with your sitting, breathing body. Now, attention naturally can take in lots of data. It can take in, science says, about 20 bits of information. So this is something that is easy for our brain to do when we're used to it, but a lot of times those 20 bits of attention go out there. So this can be hard at the beginning to stay connected to what is here now factually in your experience and include from here, and then to include more data that you're seeing, for example. So again, I purposely picked this location because there's a lot of data happening in my backspace. Lots of birds and sounds and movements and all that. So your attention can very easily want to go out and get lost out. And that's normal. We just notice that if that starts to happen, you just notice that and then bring attention back to something factually that's and easy to connect with in your sitting, breathing body. And you can practice this, pause the recording and practice this, closing your eyes again to reset so that you're really then reconnecting to what is here within your sitting, breathing body, what is quote unquote yours, so to speak, or simple. And then letting the eyes open to take in the information that comes in with open eyes. And you can just practice this at any time of your day. It is a practice to stay with oneself while including. And then, here we are now in this screen. So then I'm looking at myself, but I'm still with the screen. So the invitation, no matter what I'm looking at, me, or another person, you'll be looking at me, is to stay with your sitting, breathing body, even though now we're including other. So as your mind and your eyes are including me with your attention, the invitation is also to stay including or moving from something of the sitting, breathing body. And at any moment you can choose to close the eyes to kind of reset. Be like, okay, let me come back more to what's happening here, very simply. There's the hardness or the softness, or there's the movement of the breath here or here. And then from this, from starting from your interconnectedness or your relationship with yourself, then you include other. And again, it will be a practice. You will be practicing neural pathways. New neural pathways will be created if this is new for you. So if you know about neural pathways, it does take repetition to build new neural pathways, just like and practice. So just like if you've ever been on a bike before and you've biked on a really smooth path, it's super easy, and then you bike on a dirt road that you've never been on before, and it becomes really unstable and awkward, and it takes practice, right, to learn how to ride a bike on that dirt path. Random example, but I think you can understand what I'm getting to. It does take practice to split attention, so to speak. Attention is already split, but to split it in this way, to really include you and include other from there, takes practice. It's very unfamiliar for most of us. And then it becomes more complicated when there's, say, 20 squares on the screen, right? So what you can do is just practice this in your meetings, in your gatherings, in maybe first practice it with people that you feel really safe with. And maybe you could talk about, like, yeah, let's practice this, with each other. And then you can just do it on, where no one else knows that you're practicing. So when you're in your meetings, to just really keep coming back to starting with your sitting, breathing self, and from here, including other. And things will come in. When you see that screen of people, it's so normal to have insecurities come in, doubts, like that part of our brain that has insecurity, or that part of us that does feel insecure, like how are we appearing, how are we sounding, like that's really, really normal. All human beings experience that in some way. That self-consciousness, so to speak, is really normal. So we can't really stop that from happening. Trying to stop that from happening makes it harder. So we just acknowledge there will be these thoughts that come in, and the invitation is to notice those thoughts and to come back to simple. Come back to something of your sitting, breathing body. You notice that you're grounded here and now. You're in your spot, the spot of your choosing. If you're at home, you get to kind of hopefully choose a spot that feels somewhat comfortable for you. So resetting, we can reset constantly in our meetings, in our moments, coming back to the breath, coming back to our chairs, coming back to our spaces that feel comfortable for us. And then from there to including other. Yeah, and the faces may be unfamiliar, they may be familiar. Either way, there can be a challenge with Zoom. Whether you love the people that you're seeing, or there's no one that you know, right? Different responses will come up, and we can learn how to navigate these different relationships in these different containers. So I hope that some of this has been useful. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear feedback, or challenges that you're having, maybe things that you're discovering about how Zoom is becoming more comfortable for you. But I do find that really tending to our nervous systems, tending to our humanity, tending to our bodies is in nurturing ways is really, really useful when we have a lot of screen time. So hopefully this will help with that, will help with the nurturing. All right, thanks very much.